relaxing finance story, secret lessons for the soul. Tonight, we drift into a gentle journey where money is no longer numbers and noise, but a quiet companion of time. In this story, we explore the soft rhythm of coins, the weight of debt, the calm of saving, and the hidden wisdom that finance carries for the heart. As you listen, allow the pace to slow. Each word will move like a whisper in the dark, steady and unhurried, guiding you toward rest. Finance, in this telling, is not about striving or fear, but about reflection, about lessons that echo through history and settle gently in the soul. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the story unfold like the turning of slow pages. You are safe here, resting in a space where even numbers can feel like lullabies. Now, let us begin. Relaxing finance story. Secret lessons for the soul. Relaxing finance. Story. Secret lessons for the soul. The whisper of coins. The night is quiet, and the world outside slows into silence. In such silence, one begins to hear faint echoes of the past, as if coins once exchanged in crowded markets still whisper in memory. Money, after all, has always carried a voice. It speaks not in shouts, but in soft patterns of gain and loss, a rhythm as ancient as trade itself. To rest within this rhythm is to understand that finance is not merely numbers on a page. It is the record of human longing, fear, and hope. Long ago, in villages where people gathered under oil lamps, trade was a matter of trust. A farmer would exchange grain for cloth. A fisherman would bring his catch to barter for tools. The values were not fixed, but flowed like a river, shaped by need and circumstance. Slowly, the first coins appeared, circles of metal carrying the weight of authority, stamped with symbols of kings or empires. People held them in their palms, sensing both freedom and burden. For coins allowed strangers to trust one another, yet also made wealth measurable, comparable, and sometimes painfully unequal. To think of finance in this way is to slow down. Imagine the feel of an old coin in your hand. Its surface, worn by countless exchanges, carries the imprint of lives before yours. A single coin may have bought bread for the hungry, or perhaps been hidden in fear during war. Each transfer was more than a transaction. It was a thread in the endless fabric of survival. Debt was not absent even in these early times. When crops failed, or when storms destroyed fishing boats, families turned to neighbors, borrowing in hope. Debt bound people together, not always harshly, but often with quiet weight. To borrow was to trust that tomorrow would be kinder, and to lend was to trust that humanity carried honor. Yet when tomorrow failed, sorrow grew. This sorrow of debt is an old companion, known to kings and commoners alike. As you listen, perhaps your own memories of debt surface. Moments of owing, of waiting, of paying back in slow installments. It may have felt heavy, yet even heaviness can be a teacher. Debt teaches patience. It teaches humility. It teaches that wealth is not always in abundance, but in the grace of carrying burdens with dignity. The whisper of coins reminds us of impermanence. What is earned today may be lost tomorrow. What is hoarded may slip through hands like sand. And yet, within this impermanence lies calm. For if money is but a flow, then we too may learn to flow, to drift along with gentleness rather than clutch with fear. As sleep begins to approach, let this thought rest in your mind. Finance is not about endless striving, but about listening to the quiet lessons it carries. Every coin, every note, every line in an account book holds within it a secret lesson for the soul. And sometimes, the first lesson is simply to breathe and to remember that wealth has always been temporary, yet wisdom gained through it can be eternal. Reflection. The whisper of coins teaches that money carries history and impermanence. To hold it gently is to hold the lessons of countless lives. The burden of borrowed time. In the quiet stretches of history, debt became more than the borrowing of coins or goods. It became the borrowing of time itself. When someone took a loan, they did not merely promise repayment in silver or grain. They promised to hand over a piece of their future. Every debt is a fragment of tomorrow pulled forward into today. Picture a small shopkeeper in a forgotten street, his shelves half empty after a long season of hardship. He borrows a sum from a neighbor, hoping to replenish his stock. In that moment, he has not just taken money. He has invited the weight of future labor into his present breath. The coins he receives glimmer with possibility, yet also cast shadows of obligation. In this way, finance has always woven hope and heaviness together in the same thread. Through centuries, nations too borrowed heavily, binding generations to obligations they did not choose. Wars demanded funding, great buildings required vast sums, and rulers signed parchments that tied not only their reign, but the reigns to come. The soil of entire empires carried the weight of borrowed time. Some debts were honored with care, others were defaulted upon, leaving creditors to despair. Yet always, the story was the same. The future had been asked to serve the present. To think of debt in this way is to feel its strange duality. On one hand, debt offers relief. It allows the poor to eat, the entrepreneur to begin, the weary family to survive one more month. On the other hand, it places invisible chains on tomorrow's freedom. This is why debt feels like both gift and burden. It is a door opened and a door locked at the same time. When we lie in bed, drifting between wakefulness and sleep, our own memories of debt may return. The late-night thoughts of bills due, of borrowed sums, of interest rising quietly month after month. These thoughts often come in whispers, never in shouts. They creep like soft footsteps in the hallway of the mind. And yet, if we look closely, even these whispers have lessons. Debt teaches that the present cannot stand alone. It is always connected to what has been and what is yet to come. To borrow is to admit that life moves in cycles, that abundance and lack follow one another like the phases of the moon. To repay is to honor this cycle, closing the loop and releasing the tension between yesterday and tomorrow. In our modern lives, debt takes many shapes: credit cards, mortgages, student loans. The names change, but the essence remains. It is borrowed time. To understand this deeply is to find calm in the knowledge that everyone, in some way, carries a measure of borrowed time. It is part of being human. Close your eyes and breathe. Feel the rhythm of your own borrowed and repaid moments. Finance, in its slow unwinding, asks us to accept both the gift and the burden of time. Reflection. Debt is not only money owed, it is tomorrow's promise living in today's breath. To carry it wisely is to walk gently between hope and patience. The gentle rise of savings. If debt is the borrowing of tomorrow, then saving is the quiet gift to the future. Savings are not loud nor urgent. They gather slowly, almost invisibly, like droplets of dew forming on leaves in the stillness of dawn. To save is to honor the time ahead, to place small offerings in its hands before it even arrives. Imagine an old wooden box, tucked away beneath a bed. Within it, a family places coins. Just a few each week. The coins rest together, their metallic edges cool, their surfaces gleaming faintly in the dark. Over months, the box grows heavier, though no single day's contribution feels like much. It is the same with savings. The small, quiet gestures accumulate into something weighty, something meaningful, something protective. In every civilization, savings became a thread of survival. Farmers stored grain for leaner seasons. Shepherds set aside wool for winters to come. Merchants hid reserves in case of poor harvests or unstable markets. This act of setting aside was never merely about wealth. It was about peace of mind. To save was to soften the edge of uncertainty. It was a way of whispering to the future. I have not forgotten you. I will care for you when you arrive. Yet savings also carry a paradox. While they represent foresight and prudence, they also invite temptation. For within every saved coin lies the question, should it be kept or should it be spent? To delay pleasure, to restrain the hand, is not easy. The human heart often seeks the immediate glow of satisfaction, while the discipline of savings asks for patience. This quiet tension has always shaped financial life, the battle between today's desires and tomorrow's security. Think of the banks that grew out of this need. Great stone buildings with tall columns designed to assure people that their savings were safe. The walls were thick, the vaults hidden, the guards ever watchful. People placed their trust within those walls, believing that their future was being protected. The very architecture of these places reflected the human yearning for stability, for shelter against the unknown. And yet, even banks were not always stable. Crises came, vaults emptied, savings were lost. For nothing in finance is unshakable. Still, the idea of saving persisted, for it is as natural to humans as breathing. To save is to hope, and hope never truly disappears, even when shaken. As you lie in stillness, imagine your own moments of saving. Perhaps the first time you set aside a few bills in an envelope. Perhaps the relief of seeing a small balance remain at the end of the month. These moments may seem small, but they echo deeply. They are reminders that within you is the power to shape your own future with patience, even in small measures. Savings do not shout. They do not demand. They simply wait. And in their waiting, they teach us to trust the passage of time. For time, like savings, is always adding, always carrying us forward, even when we do not notice. Reflection. Savings are the quiet companions of time, tiny offerings placed into the hands of tomorrow, whispering that we have prepared with patience and care. The shadows of crisis. If saving is the gentle rising of security, then financial crisis is the sudden wave that pulls it away. Crises arrive quietly at first, like faint tremors beneath the ground. Then, without warning, the tremors swell into quakes, shaking foundations that once seemed immovable. In every age, humanity has faced these storms, and in every age, the lessons have been carved deep into memory. Picture the year 1929, when the Great Depression cast its long shadow across the world. At first, markets bustled with confidence. Stocks climbed, banks lent freely, and people dreamed of endless growth. Yet beneath the surface, fragility spread. When the collapse finally came, it was not just numbers on ticker tapes that fell. It was families, businesses, entire lives unraveling in slow despair. Breadlines grew, homes were lost, and savings evaporated overnight. The crisis whispered the truth that many had forgotten. Growth is not eternal, and certainty is a fragile illusion. Centuries before, similar patterns unfolded in other lands. In the tulip fields of 17th century Holland, bulbs once traded like treasures lost all value in a breath. In Asian dynasties, inflated currencies crumbled, shaking empires. In each story, the arc was the same. Confidence inflated, fear bursted, and lives were altered. Yet even within crisis lies a strange calm if one can listen closely. For crises remind us that finance is not a ladder ever rising, but a tide that ebbs and flows. To suffer loss is painful, but it is also a teacher of humility. It reminds us not to cling too tightly, for wealth is a visitor that never stays forever. As you lie in stillness, imagine markets not as numbers, but as oceans. They swell, they crash, they retreat. To fight them with panic is to drown. To observe them with patience is to float. In this way, crisis offers a deeper secret lesson. It asks us to trust that survival is possible even when abundance vanishes. The families who lived through the Depression found joy in simple meals, strength in shared burdens, and hope in each sunrise. They discovered that life did not end when wealth fell away. Instead, life returned to its quieter truths: bread shared, stories told, the endurance of love. Crises will always come in different forms, at different times, but they do not arrive only to destroy, they arrive to remind. They remind us that beneath wealth and loss lies something steadier, the human spirit's capacity to endure, to adapt, and to begin again. Reflection. Crisis is not only destruction, it is a shadow that reveals the light of endurance, teaching us that true wealth lies not in stability, but in resilience. The rhythm of work and wages. Behind every coin saved and every debt owed lies the steady rhythm of labor. Work is the quiet pulse of finance, the heartbeat that gives life to the flow of money. Without it, savings do not grow, debts cannot be repaid, and trade cannot move. Work is the foundation, and wages are its echo. In ancient times, work was measured not in hours, but in effort. Farmers rose with the dawn, their hands shaping the soil. Builders lifted stones until their bodies ached. Artisans bent over wood, metal, or cloth, shaping objects that carried both utility and beauty. For their labor, they were given food, shelter, or tokens of value. In this exchange lay the essence of finance, human energy transformed into sustenance and security. As centuries passed, wages became more formal. Coins paid to soldiers, salaries promised to scribes, stipends granted to clerks. In factories, the rhythm of machines set the pace, and workers traded hours of their lives for daily wages. Each paycheck, whether folded paper or digital transfer, carried more than money. It carried pieces of human time, fragments of life exchanged for survival. The rhythm of work is not always fair. Some labor with great strength and receive little. Others sit in comfort and collect much. Finance reflects these imbalances with unblinking accuracy. And yet, within the quiet of night, it is worth remembering. Every wage, no matter its size, is sacred. For it represents the offering of time, the one resource that cannot be reclaimed. Imagine a worker returning home after a long day, their hands rough, their steps heavy. They place a small envelope of wages on the table, and though the amount may not be vast, it feeds the family, warms the home, sustains life. The weight of those wages is more than numerical. It is emotional, spiritual, human. Work also teaches rhythm. It teaches the discipline of repetition, of showing up each day. Like waves upon a shore, work reminds us that persistence shapes life more than bursts of effort. Over time, the wages of persistence build stability, even if they grow slowly. As you rest now, think of the many labors behind the wealth of nations. Fields planted, ships steered, books written, tools forged. All of finance rests on these invisible backs. To honor wages, even the smallest, is to honor the rhythm of life itself. Reflection. Wages are more than numbers. They are fragments of human time, exchanged in the rhythm of work, carrying dignity and the quiet power of survival. The silent weight of interest. If wages are the breath of labor, then interest is the quiet shadow that follows money once it begins to move. Interest is not visible like coins, nor tangible like bills. It lives in the space between numbers, slowly accumulating, quietly expanding, like ivy climbing the walls of a forgotten building. In the earliest days, interest was viewed with suspicion. Many ancient texts speak of it as unnatural, as though money should not breed more money without labor. Yet, in time, societies learned that interest could not be banished, for it was born of human impatience. To lend is to part with something valuable. To wait without return felt incomplete. And so, interest was born, not as a shout, but as a whisper, compensating for time. Interest has a double face. For the lender, it is reassurance, a reason to part with wealth in the present. For the borrower, it is an extra weight, a reminder that the cost of borrowing stretches beyond the borrowed sum. The poor family who borrows for food pays not only the debt, but also the creeping growth of interest. The merchant who takes a loan for trade must earn more than he borrowed, or fall deeper into chains. History remembers the times when interest grew monstrous. Usurers in medieval towns charged rates that crushed entire households. In modern markets, compound interest spiraled debts into mountains, trapping students, families, and nations alike. What begins as a small sum can multiply silently, like a shadow lengthening at dusk. Yet interest is not always cruel. In savings accounts, it offers reward. For those who set money aside, interest is like gentle rain on planted seeds, adding growth without further effort. To some, this becomes a slow comfort, a quiet partnership between time and wealth. As you rest, imagine interest not as numbers climbing in ledgers, but as ripples spreading across a still pond. A single drop creates widening circles. Some circles nourish, others disturb, but all remind us that actions in finance echo far beyond their beginnings. The lesson of interest is patience. It teaches that time itself has value, that waiting is not empty, that delay carries weight. It also warns us that time can become heavy if we are careless, for debt that lingers grows more demanding with each passing day. Finance whispers this truth gently. To respect interest is to respect time itself. To borrow lightly, to save patiently, to understand that what seems small today may be vast tomorrow. Reflection. Interest is the echo of time within money, sometimes gentle, sometimes heavy. To understand it is to learn that every choice carries ripples far into the future. The market's endless dance beyond savings, beyond debt, beyond the shadow of interest. There lies a vast stage where finance performs its most elaborate movements. This is the market, the endless meeting place of buyers and sellers, of hope and fear, of dreams and despair. The market is never still. It dances ceaselessly, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in chaos, always in motion. Imagine a marketplace of old, stalls lined with fruits, spices, fabrics, and tools. People move slowly through narrow paths, voices soft but steady, weighing, bargaining, exchanging. Coins clink, goods change hands. Beneath the surface, there is rhythm, an invisible choreography guiding every offer, every acceptance, every pause. This rhythm never disappeared. It expanded, grew taller, faster, more complex, until today it takes the form of vast stock exchanges, screens glowing with numbers, traders whispering into phones. Yet at its heart, it remains the same. Human beings trading what they have for what they seek. Markets are living mirrors. They reflect the emotions of the many. When hope is strong, prices rise. When fear spreads, they fall. A simple rumor, carried like wind, can lift fortunes or shatter them. A discovery, a war, a harvest, a failure, all ripple through the market's endless dance. To watch it is to witness humanity's collective breath, rising and falling in unison. And yet, within this dance lies a strange calm. For though the market trembles, though it leaps and crashes, over long stretches of time it reveals a kind of order. Just as seasons cycle through winter and spring, so do markets move through growth and decline. This rhythm is ancient, beyond any single trader, beyond any single nation. It is the pulse of human exchange itself. For those who join the market, the lesson is humility. No one commands its steps entirely. A farmer may bring his crops to sell, but the weather, the soil, and the hunger of buyers decide the price. A company may offer its shares, but the faith or fear of the public writes its value. To believe the market can be fully controlled is to believe the tide can be stopped by hand. As you listen, imagine the market as an ocean once more. Each wave is a trade, each swell is a boom, each crash a crisis. The wise do not cling too tightly to the crest, nor despair in the trough. They observe, they adapt, they remember that the ocean itself endures beyond every wave. In the stillness of night, you may feel echoes of this market within yourself. The rise and fall of your own emotions, the countless trades between desire and restraint, between risk and caution. In this way, the market is not separate from you. It is a reflection of your own inner tides. Reflection. The market is an endless dance, a mirror of human emotion. To watch it patiently is to learn humility, to accept the rise and fall as part of the rhythm of life. The illusion of wealth, in the glow of city lights and the rustle of paper bills, wealth often appears solid, unshakable, eternal. Yet if one listens quietly, if one slows the mind, a different truth emerges. Wealth, like mist on a morning field, can rise beautifully and vanish just as quickly. What seems abundant may be fragile, and what seems secure may be illusion. Consider the gilded halls of kings and queens. Their treasuries overflowed with jewels and gold, yet many empires collapsed beneath the weight of wars, debts, and poor harvests. The gold remained, shining in vaults, but the power behind it dissolved. What was once wealth turned into relics, symbols of a past that could not be sustained. In more recent times, paper wealth grew in markets. A family might glance at their investments and believe themselves rich. Numbers rose on screens, balances swelled, confidence expanded. But when crises struck, when markets fell, when companies collapsed, the numbers shrank as quickly as they had risen. The illusion faded, leaving behind the truth. Wealth is not always what it appears. Even personal fortunes carry this illusion. A new car may seem like prosperity, yet its value declines the moment it is driven. A mansion may dazzle with beauty, yet it can become a burden of taxes and repairs. True wealth does not always reside in possessions, for possessions themselves are impermanent. And yet, illusion is not without purpose, for within it lies a gentle reminder. To seek wealth only in numbers or objects is to chase shadows. The deeper lesson of finance is to see beyond the surface. Wealth is not only what is held in accounts or displayed in homes. Wealth can be the absence of worry at night, the presence of food on the table, the security of knowing tomorrow's needs are met. Wealth can be measured not only in what is gained, but in what is endured, what is shared, and what is quietly enough. As you rest, imagine holding a coin in your hand. Its shine may catch your eye, but its true value lies not in the shine. It lies in the bread it can buy, the medicine it can provide, the peace it can bring. When the shine fades, the lesson remains. Wealth is a tool, never the destination. The illusion of wealth, once understood, is no longer a trap. It becomes a soft veil, easy to see through, reminding us not to cling. To hold wealth lightly is to be free. To see its impermanence is to find calm, even in times of loss. Reflection. Wealth is often an illusion, bright on the surface but fragile beneath. To see beyond it is to discover that true wealth lies in peace, sufficiency, and freedom from fear. The discipline of frugality. Among the many lessons finance offers, frugality is perhaps the quietest. It does not announce itself with grandeur. It does not glitter like coins or dazzle like markets. Instead, it whispers gently, "Use only what you need, and let the rest remain." Frugality is not miserliness. It is not the clenching of fists, nor the denial of every comfort. It is a discipline, a steady balance between desire and necessity. To live frugally is to walk softly, leaving fewer footprints on the soil of one's future. Imagine a small household in difficult times. The family eats simple meals, bread, rice, soup, but there is always enough. Clothes are mended, tools repaired, candles burnt slowly. The children learn early that nothing is wasted. Each choice carries weight, each object holds value. In such a life, frugality becomes not deprivation, but wisdom. It teaches gratitude for what is present and patience for what is absent. Throughout history, frugality has been the companion of resilience. During wars, families rationed carefully, ensuring survival through long winters. During depressions, households learned to stretch every coin, finding creative ways to endure. Even in times of abundance, those who practiced frugality carried strength when scarcity returned. Modern life often forgets this discipline. Advertisements call loudly, offering endless things to buy. Credit cards make spending effortless, and possessions accumulate until homes overflow. Yet beneath the noise, the lesson of frugality still waits. It asks us to pause before purchasing, to question before consuming, to honor the future by not exhausting the present. Frugality also reveals a paradox. By needing less, one often discovers they have more. The quiet joy of a simple meal, the comfort of a repaired chair, the beauty of a modest home, these are forms of wealth untouched by markets. In choosing simplicity, one uncovers abundance hidden in plain sight. As you breathe in the calm of night, consider your own moments of frugality. Perhaps the choice to cook at home instead of dining out. Perhaps the decision to walk instead of drive. These choices, small as they seem, are threads in the fabric of peace. For each act of frugality is a message to tomorrow. I have left something for you. I have cared for your well-being. Finance teaches that riches may come and go, but discipline remains. To live frugally is to train the soul in patience, gratitude, and trust. It is to align one's life not with the illusion of wealth, but with the quiet sufficiency of enough. Reflection. Frugality is not the absence of joy, but the presence of wisdom. To live with less is often to discover that one already has enough. The cycle of generosity. If frugality is the art of holding back, generosity is the art of letting go. Money, when kept only for oneself, grows stagnant, but when shared, it moves like water, refreshing others and returning in unseen ways. The story of finance is never complete without the story of giving. In villages long ago, generosity was survival. A farmer with extra grain gave to a neighbor whose harvest had failed. A fisherman shared his catch with a family struck by illness. These gifts were not measured in ledgers, but in gratitude. The giver lost something in the moment, but gained trust, respect, and bonds that endured. Finance, in this way, was not only about numbers. It was about community. Religions across the world have long honored generosity. Tithes, alms, offerings, and zakat all remind us that wealth is not meant to be clutched tightly. It is a trust, a resource to be shared. When the wealthy gave to the poor, when the strong supported the weak, the community as a whole grew steadier. Even kings and rulers learned that generosity could bring loyalty where fear alone could not. Yet generosity carries a paradox. To give is to release control. The money leaves one's hand, and one cannot predict how it will be used. Some may waste it, some may misuse it, but still the act itself remains sacred. For generosity shapes not only the receiver, but the giver. It loosens the grip of fear, softens the hold of greed, and opens the soul to the truth that wealth was never permanent to begin with. In modern times, generosity still carries power. A scholarship for a student becomes a lifetime of opportunity. A donation to a shelter offers warmth to the forgotten. Even small acts, buying a meal for a stranger, lending without expectation, send ripples through the lives of others. Though the world counts wealth in numbers, generosity counts it in hearts touched. Generosity is also cyclical. Those who receive often become givers themselves. The poor child who once relied on charity may, in adulthood, give back to others. In this way, wealth continues to flow, not hoarded in vaults, but circulating in human kindness. Finance reveals its gentlest truth here. Money is only as meaningful as the lives it touches. As you lie in stillness, reflect on moments when you have given and moments when you have received. Both carry quiet dignity. Both remind us that in the vast rhythm of finance, generosity is the note that softens the song, making it bearable, even beautiful. Reflection. Generosity teaches that wealth multiplies not by being held, but by being shared. To give freely is to discover that money's truest value lies in connection. The legacy of finance. Beyond daily wages, beyond debts and savings, beyond crises and gifts, there lies the quiet truth that finance is never only about the present. It stretches forward, leaving marks upon those who come after us. Each choice made with money, whether wise or careless, writes itself into the legacy of families, communities, and nations. Imagine an old ledger, its pages yellowed, the ink faded but still legible. The entries within belong not to one person, but to generations. A house bought decades ago becomes a home for children and grandchildren. A debt left unpaid burdens, heirs who never signed their names to it. An inheritance passed down carries with it not only wealth, but also lessons, habits, and values. Finance, then, is not only arithmetic, it is memory and inheritance woven together. Nations, too, carry legacies. The debts of governments linger for decades, sometimes centuries, shaping the lives of citizens who were not yet born when the agreements were signed. Wars, funded by borrowing, leave scars long after the battle's end. On the other hand, wise investments in education, infrastructure, or healthcare ripple forward, blessing generations far beyond the original spenders. The legacy of finance is vast, echoing in places the original actors never imagined. On a personal level, legacy is found in the values taught more than the sums transferred. A parent who teaches their child the habit of saving leaves a treasure greater than gold. A grandparent who models generosity plants seeds of kindness that grow long after coins have disappeared. The numbers may fade, but the lessons endure. This is why legacy is not measured only in wealth. Some leave behind little money but abundant wisdom. Others leave fortunes yet no guidance, and the wealth evaporates quickly. The soul's secret lesson in finance is this: the true inheritance is not what is left in accounts, but what is left in hearts and habits. As you rest tonight, think of your own legacy, not in terms of riches, but in the quiet traces of wisdom you might pass on. Each decision today becomes a small gift or burden to tomorrow. Each habit carried forward becomes a story retold by others. In this way, finance is not confined to one life, but stretches across lifetimes. Reflection. Finance weaves legacy through both numbers and values. What we save, spend, and share becomes part of tomorrow's story, carried far beyond ourselves. The soul's quiet balance. At the end of every financial journey, through debts and wages, through savings and crises, through markets and legacies, there comes a stillness. Numbers fade, possessions crumble, and the rush of transactions slows into silence. What remains is not the balance in accounts, but the balance within the soul. Finance has always been more than calculation. It is a mirror of human longing, fear, hope, and endurance. To borrow is to trust tomorrow. To save is to honor it. To work is to give fragments of life in exchange for sustenance. To spend is to choose what matters most in fleeting time. Each decision is small, yet together they form the shape of a life. In this shape, peace is not found in wealth alone. For the richest may still feel restless, and the poorest may still find contentment. Peace comes when money is seen clearly, not as master, not as enemy, but as a passing companion. It moves through hands, through families, through nations, and then moves on. To cling too tightly is to suffer. To use it wisely is to walk gently. The soul's quiet balance rests in acceptance. Acceptance that wealth will come and go. Acceptance that debts will weigh and then lift. Acceptance that generosity will ripple outward, even unseen. Finance whispers to us that nothing here is permanent, not the crises, not the abundance, not even the burdens. What endures is the spirit with which we carried it all. As the night deepens, imagine your life not as a series of numbers, but as a flowing stream. Along its banks lie the coins of memory. Times you worked, times you borrowed, times you saved, times you gave. The stream moves forward, carrying all of it toward the vast ocean of time. There, the details dissolve, but the essence remains. The lessons learned, the wisdom carried, the peace discovered. And so the final lesson is simple. Finance is not merely about wealth or loss. It is about learning to live with rhythm, patience, humility, and grace. To hold lightly, to release freely, to walk steadily. These are the secret lessons for the soul. Reflection. At the end of the journey, money fades, but wisdom remains. The true balance sheet is not written in numbers, but in peace carried gently within the soul.